Hello, future selves.
Hello, people of the world, mostly just us in the future and maybe our children. What year is it currently?
It's the year 2023. No, just kidding. It's 2024,
March.
March 24th. We
Yep.
just celebrated our 4-year wedding anniversary.
Yep. And tomorrow's a big day because we are doing a scan. So we'll talk a bit about the backstory of why we're getting this scan. It's not a normal scan, it's a 16-week pregnancy scan. So we are pregnant, which is amazing.
We
Our
should talk about
first child.
this, like why we're filming this video.
We will. Well, I think we want to film this just as a
Memoir.
keepsake memoir, a snapshot of our life where we're at the moment. I think we will find it very interesting in future. It may be interesting to other people, but I think it's more so for us.
Yeah. And the plan is that we'll do this every year of our anniversary.
That's right. Yeah, this is the anniversary. I forgot. I thought this was just about pregnancy stuff. No, this is our anniversary video. We were supposed to do this on our anniversary, and we didn't because
We had other events that went over time.
we didn't plan our night very well, and we didn't we didn't expect things to go the way they did because we didn't plan it very well. Anyway, here we are a couple of days later doing our anniversary check-in.
Yeah.
I forgot that's what it was. I thought we were just Sorry, she has this cute laugh that she's adopted. She started doing recently. Sorry about that. Are you right?
Yeah.
Are you upset?
Nah,
That was funny.
I am who I am.
But we are a big part of this will also be talking about what's happening tomorrow, which is this 16-week scan, and reflecting on why we need that. Maybe we get to that then after we talk about just the year in general.
Sounds good.
Cool. So the question, I guess, was what are some significant milestones, things that have happened this year that have been noteworthy, whether they're good or bad, things that we would like to perhaps reflect on in the future and hear about and sort of for better or worse.
We have to make sure we do the same questions every year.
Kinda. I'm not too strict with that. That would be good. That would make sense.
Mm.
Continuity. So I think the question was that I asked you, what was 3 significant moments or events of the year? Is that right?
Yeah. For me, the 3 significant events of the past year of marriage has been we finally were able to go on our first overseas trip together, and that was definitely a bucket list item. We went to South Korea and we went to Japan. And when we were in Japan, we went to Tokyo, to Osaka, Kyoto, Nara. I think that was mainly it. But yeah, that was one definitely. Number 2, we moved into our house, which we're filming in now.
Yeah, true. That was this year.
That was this year. That was a big life event for us. Felt like it was never going to happen, but here we are. And then number 3 is that we went on a journey of trying to fall pregnant, and we are delighted to say that we did fall pregnant and towards the end of last year. So they were my 3 momentous occasions.
Great. I wrote this question for you, and then I didn't abide by it myself.
Classic.
So I don't really have 3 things, but those are kind of I guess those are the 3 things for both of us.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest things that have happened. I've got to keep remembering to look at the lens, not the screen.
True.
It's a little screen there. Don't look at that.
True.
Sorry, that was a note for myself. So my things were pretty much the same, but I guess I wanted to talk a bit more detail about some of them. So pregnancy is probably the most significant. Like the trip overseas was awesome, and the house is awesome. But getting pregnant was maybe a much more emotional journey and a much more. We learned a lot more.
A physical journey. Let's start there.
Yep.
You can read between the lines in that one.
Yeah, getting pregnant actually is harder than we expected. That was the first thing. We didn't realize. I didn't know much about pregnancy. I'm pretty sciencey kind of dude, but I didn't know about the very short window that women can actually get pregnant per month, and that if you don't get in that time, bad luck. And so essentially every month you get one opportunity to get pregnant or one window of time to get pregnant. and every month that you don't get pregnant is quite an interesting and challenging time of like maybe disappointment, but also just we weren't trying to put too much pressure on it, which everyone tells you is like number one thing people will say is don't put too much pressure on getting
Don't
pregnant.
go too into it unless we're going to start talking about it.
We're talking about it.
Oh, we are? We're going there now?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's like the I don't know. I'm just my loose notes here. That's just the first part is just all about pregnancy.
Oh, okay. All right.
You have about talk about pregnancy.
Sure. This is going to be more of a pregnancy video than it will be like an anniversary video, I feel.
All right. Well, let me knock off a few other things before we get to the pregnancy. So this year, so I've been running my business since 2020, full time since 2021, and
Talk as if you're talking to yourself next year.
hey, Ruben, how's it going? Probably still a bit of a legend.
Wow.
So business has been going good, as you know. If you are me, in fact, watching this again, which I will, I'm sure. And I've got some goals and sort of hurdles I need to jump to take the business to the next stage, which is about hiring people and getting like an actual office space. But I've been on a journey of figuring out if I want that because the business is running as it is at the moment and is good, like earning really decent money. The flexibility is great. Um, Enjoying working with the clients I'm working with and the scale it's currently at. But to like take the business to the next level, I sort of need to look at a bigger space and staff. So I think that I do want to do that. I think that I'd love to at least have one person on. So that's sort of the goal in the next year. But the year to this point has just been just working, learning lots still, working on cool projects and stuff. Um, Personally, I don't really want to talk too much about this. I wrote these down, but now I'm looking at it. It's like, just like things I've been doing. So Ruben, future
Yeah,
Ruben,
this will
if
be
you're
beneficial
interested,
to watch.
Ruben, you have been having cold showers,
Yeah.
which is not that impressive because like summertime and even autumn is not that cold. And it's only just autumn getting colder now, and the cold showers are getting harder. So don't be too impressed with yourself. But cold showers has been a big change. And funnily enough, I wanted to do cold showers because I just don't like that period of time when you're like waiting for the water to get to the right temperature. And I felt like I could never get it right. Like I'd put it on hot, take ages to get hot, and then when it's hot, it's like too hot. And I don't like hot showers. Like Veda has scalding showers.
Not anymore.
And then I'm trying to turn it down to cold, and then it goes too cold, and it's just like annoying. Half the shower time, I'm just annoyed about the temperature. So I was like, what if I just have cold showers? Just embrace it. And it was easy in summer. It's getting a lot harder. Anyway, so cold showers. I'm trying to like implement more movement in my day to day life. So as I work in the office, I can be quite sedentary where I just sit around and I walk like 20 steps a day. So I've been trying to like just move more, watching along with these like YouTube workouts that are like these 10-15 minute things where you're doing squats and stuff. And they're actually really good. Like I get a decent sweat going and it makes me feel like I'm kind of, my body's active and my joints are, it's good for the joints and stuff. So that's what you're doing, bro. You're doing some intermittent fasting. It's not that impressive.
It doesn't have to be impressive.
And another thing I've been more interested in this year is like autobiographies. So I've always read a lot of fantasy and listened to audiobooks, like fantasy genre. I love a good story, a good adventure. But I've been like really fascinated by people's like autobiographical, like their life, and people who have done cool things. So I've been a lot more into that, and that's been cool. That this year, anything else? Things this year: going overseas, moving to a house, falling pregnant.
My turn.
Bruh, that was it. Yeah, take away.
Hi, future Vader. Hope you're treating yourself
Not too
kindly.
close.
Oh,
Okay, that's good.
hope you're being kind to yourself. This year for me, in terms of more personal stuff, work's been going good. I've been working on a lot of challenging projects, which has been great. Been learning lots, lot in the renewable space. So I hope you're still doing that because that's the future. I got nominated and selected to be a finalist as part of the 30 Under 30 Awards,
That's
which
cool.
I was a massive blessing and honestly just like a lot of imposter syndrome there because I feel like I don't deserve it. But you know what? I take it. Been trying to read the Bible and doing like a yearly Bible plan, and I was sticking with that. And I say was because I had to stop that, which we'll talk about soon with whole pregnancy stuff because I'm trying to read specific verses at the moment. But plan is to get back onto that soon and finish that, which has actually been really just good in being consistent. Um, Nothing else too much that I can think of. Your parents retired, so just make sure you spend more time with them. Um,
It's weird, like swapping between your parents and my parents. You're telling Vader, future Vader.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Caught me
But
off
I
guard.
suppose I'm gonna segue this a little bit, even because you're kind of hosting. But I had this thought as we were doing this that technically it's like our wedding anniversary review video, not necessarily like our 2024 2023 review video. So, my question is, how do you think our marriage has, or what's your reflection on our marriage in the last year of being married?
Nice. Good question. Job.
And what do you think we can do, not necessarily better, but like implement in the next year?
Okay. One reflection that I had recently, because it was obviously our anniversary, I was thinking, I think we just fight a lot less. And I was like, I said that to Vader the other day, and I'm like, I don't want to like jinx it. But we fought a lot early on. We just, as in, we fight, we just like disagree on things and just both get really, really stubborn, and then both get upset and both get argue, and just can't budge, can't give ground, can't find resolution, and we just like it would just how emotions build up, and they like if you don't have a way to release them or to um, de-escalate, it sort of can get a bit ugly. So we a lot of tears and a lot of arguments and fights early on, and I think it was kind of good probably because we were hashing some things out and figuring out where we really believe certain things, and also some of our like trigger points and things that we're some deep past history stuff that we had to both deal with. But I just feel like I say that also. I think we've been fighting way less, which is cool. And someone once told me when you have children, you fight a lot less because it becomes like you as parents against the child in a way. As in, like you got to like we've got to like band together to get through this. We haven't obviously got a kid yet, but that's something this year that I've noticed we've just been doing really good in. I think it comes down to us understanding one another better, knowing one another better. Still, 6 years now we've been together total.
Yeah.
Still getting to know one another more and more. And I think a big way having more grace for one another as we are who we are. Yeah. What was your question?
That was mainly. Oh, and
Yeah.
what do you want to like grow on or work on in the next year?
We're becoming, God willing, I believe we are becoming parents, which is crazy.
We're kind of technically parents already,
We have a child that's the size of an avocado, and that's a pretty significant size, 180 millimeters long, which we discovered was about that long. And that's a baby. It's pretty significant. We talk to it. We kind of know the gender. I don't know if we've given it away by using pronouns yet in this video. We'll probably mention it.
We're having a boy. A boy.
Yeah, it was a boy. It is a boy. You are a boy. If you're watching this, which you might in future, this would be a cool video for our future child to watch. You're a boy. Good, congratulations. It's a weird thing to tell a child. And we're stoked that you're a boy. We did kind of like think you were a girl.
Well, everyone told us we were having a girl. Like, even the random pathologist looked at me and said, "You're having a girl." The Chinese lunar gender predictor, which apparently is never wrong, said we were having a girl.
Can't never be wrong.
Well, apparently, I mean, obviously,
Apparently it's really accurate or
Yeah.
really like. But I always think with anything like that, there's always going to be exceptions. We must obviously.
we are always an exception.
Wow, we're exceptional. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Think pretty highly of us.
Well, you have to.
Cool. We're still humble though.
Well, I am. Your father here has his moments.
It's true.
Yes. So in the
But
next year,
we thought it was a girl. You thought you were a girl, and then we got the ultrasound at 12, 13 weeks, And as I was like scanning through that video that I wasn't supposed to take because you're not supposed to have cameras in there, I was like, I swear I can see a little bit of something that doesn't look like a girl. Anyway, and then turns out the test it's still not 100%. That's the
Yeah.
test that can be actually false positive for a
True.
boy.
True.
So like crazy if you're not a boy.
This is a very confusing video for you, if not. Anyways.
You're a child. You're a
And
living
we
child.
love you.
You are healthy. You are a good size. There's a lot of good indicators that you are a healthy, great, wonderful baby. That will be a full-term child of ours. And
Yeah. Don't digress.
okay,
The question was in the next year.
okay, yeah, you don't want to.
Yeah. Well, I
anything
just feel
away.
like we need to talk about it all in one
Good job.
one hit.
Alright.
You know. So in the
Did I
next,
answer in the next
I
year?
don't really know if you did.
In the next year,
You kind of harped on about us being parents.
well, no, yeah. So thank you for rejogging my memory. We're going to become parents, and that's wild. And so I guess like just being good at, I don't know, good or bad, but like just being intentional, trying to do things as best we can, trying to learn and adapt because I know that things will change, and just support one another still, and do what we can for our baby. Yeah, next year. That's me.
My answer's more or less the same, I think. I think in this past year we have become closer, and I think that's the goal every year in marriage is that you become closer. But I do think that we definitely fight a lot less. I think you nailed it. We just understand each other more and have more grace for each other. But I think it has come through a lot of work that had to be done because there was a lot of arguments that had to have happened beforehand that we learned from and are still learning from. But I think we just learned to communicate with one another a bit better. I say all this, not saying we got it down pat, but we definitely have it better than what we did last year.
Yeah.
And I think through some of the life events that we've gone through in the past year, it's made us closer. And, in these moments, you have to stick together, or otherwise, you're going to isolate yourself, and no one wants that. And yeah, something to improve on. Again, similar answer in terms of becoming parents, but I think, and I hope I'm not being naive when I say this, but a lot of people, I think, a lot of parents might be like, that's like wishful thinking. But I do really hope that once we become parents, we still prioritize one another in our marriage and still put that first. And obviously, our child will be a massive priority, but it doesn't mean that we neglect our marriage. And so that's my plan. And I want to prove people wrong, those people who say, that's wishful thinking. The plan is that we don't let that happen in terms of dropping the ball. And so obviously it'll be a constant work, but I'm up for the challenge if you are.
Yeah, nice. Well done. Well put.
Thanks.
Love that. So that's pregnancy. Not pregnancy. That's marriage.
That's all he's got on his head.
For the last year and the following year. And do you want to jump into pregnancy, or is there anything else you want to reflect about being married?
Let's just get into it.
Yeah.
I feel like
happy anniversary. If you're watching this, Ruben and Vader, in future years.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Love each other well.
Yeah.
Be kind to one another.
Tell her that. Tell your future yourself.
Be kind to Ruben. Be understanding, and remember to pay attention to him. Even when he talks about a lot of random stuff, and it's not always
interesting to you.
Yeah, interesting to me. It's a bid for attention. Bid for attention. Is that what it is? Yeah. And so.
Hey, let's talk about that book.
Yeah, Gottman's. That also has helped us tremendously in our
marriage. That was this year.
I think that's also part of the reason we fight less.
Yeah,
but I think sometimes you got to remember to pay attention when he speaks, because even though you don't find it interesting, you love him, and if he does, then you got to just at least acknowledge it.
At least try.
Let's
pretend.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a sensitive soul sometimes, aren't I?
Yeah, can be. What about
Ruben, future Ruben? Great job. You made it to wherever you are right now.
Great job.
I need encouragement. You know that. No, I hope you are doing well, and I hope that whatever path you've chosen to be on, you are enjoying, and you have no regrets. Who knows? I could be watching this when I'm like 80. This is like, if this is like an ongoing thing, this is number one, volume one.
Yeah.
It's a pretty significant one.
Yeah.
80-year-old me. Good
Well,
on you.
don't think too far.
Good on
into
you
the
for being
future.
80. If you've made it to 80,
We're
fantastic.
focusing on just the next year.
Yeah. No, but it's future me.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to say something about being a good husband because you led pretty strong with that.
You don't have to, but I thought this was a marriage.
Ruben, I hope you've continued to get better and continuing to get better at managing your self and your emotions and your keeping your mind in focus. I don't know, like paying attention is maybe it.
To me.
Being intentional, paying attention, yeah.
Oh, okay.
My brain wanders sometimes when
That's true.
when you
actually. Your
talk.
brain does
I'm
wander.
thinking about like tile roofs and
Yeah.
I don't know, things, strange things. So yeah, but I don't know. Keep doing your best. Keep doing your best. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's my message.
Feels like our vows again. Like you got the easy answer.
Cop outs.
Yeah.
My opening line to my vows were I promise I'll never be perfect. Which I thought was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good because like it's
just like a lack of commitment is what it is.
it's honest because and it's true.
I know. Be specific in something. Why?
I did.
Yeah, you did say the paying attention thing. Pay attention. Yeah. Anyways, it's okay.
I mean, like in our vows, I was specific.
We don't
Like
need
the
to-
rest of them were all right, yeah.
No.
In their totality,
I suppose.
pretty good.
Like it was a beautiful vow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yours was good. We got them printed on our wall in there in 2024. If you come into our room, there's our vows typed and printed on. Maybe you've still got that. Hopefully, we've still got those in future. Anyway, pregnancy.
Where does one begin?
Getting pregnant.
Getting chapter 1. This needs to be like 3 separate vlogs at this point. Getting pregnant.
PG.
Yeah.
Our child's like 10.
Hello. We prayed for you.
Do we look younger? This is the youngest I'll ever look. Isn't that sad?
Wow.
No, I might get some work.
No. Anyways, we prayed for you dearly.
Yeah.
You were very much desired. And we embarked on a journey of thinking it was going to go one way, and it definitely was a different type of journey than we expected. But yeah, I think off the top of my head, it took us around 7 to 8 months. We decided after we came back from overseas that we would start trying. It was more so the fact we were probably going to try when we were overseas, but I ended up doing a blood test to check, general health, that everything was going to be okay. And they found that I didn't have the rubella vaccine, so we had to get that and then wait 28 days for that vaccine to kick in.
I really wanted a baby that was made in Japan. So in Japan, I was very naive and I thought that like was a possibility and was like, I even thought that was quite likely, but it's not really how things work.
Yeah. And I think that was an interesting month because I didn't end up getting I feel like I didn't get my period for ages. Like it was supposed to come when we were overseas and it just didn't come. So who knows? Anyways, and then, so then we set upon the journey of conceiving after that, and it took a while. I think the original plan was to not try, but I soon found out that maybe due to my personality or whatever, I found that harder to just not try. As
Bit of an
opposed,
achiever.
yeah, as opposed to just committing to the journey and being like, okay, well, if this is what we're doing, then this is the goal.
How do we optimize?
Yeah,
How do we maximize our chances?
And I think it's like this is definitely a whole nother topic, but there are certain things that I think the women and even the men have to do. You start taking prenatals, and we made the decision to not drink during the times when I was ovulating or could be pregnant. And so I think you do all these things that make you super or hyper aware that you're trying to have a baby. So the fact that you go on this concept of not trying is wild to me anyways, because I was like, you're just constantly aware of where out what you're doing. And anyways, so yeah, I think even like in the first month of finding out that we weren't pregnant, there was just like a sadness that came upon me when we got that negative pregnancy test. I remember that, just feeling sad and feeling like, oh wow, that didn't happen. And maybe it was a naivety in both of us of thinking it would be easy.
Yeah.
And
But
so,
like once you stop contraception, you just get
mm,
pregnant.
and some of our friends I think had that journey, which
Mm.
is everyone's journey is different, but that is so exciting for them, and we love that journey for them, but it wasn't our story.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you go on a comparison game of like, oh, if it didn't happen the first month, then how long will it take? And every month that it didn't happen, you start wondering, do we have problems, or do we need to be concerned about it? So long story short,
I'm writing this for myself, by the way, just so I
that's
don't
fine.
read what I'm writing.
It's okay. I can't read it anyways. But yeah, so then after a few months in September, um, I had what I thought was my period. I won't go into the graphic detail, I don't think, but
No.
yeah. But we ended up finding out that it was September Father's Day weekend. We found out that we were pregnant. We found out on a Friday night through a pregnancy test, and then did a blood test, and then realized that we actually were pregnant, which was exciting, but also a really terrifying thought because I also was bleeding quite a bit. And so the exciting news kind of was foreshadowed with the biological
Yeah.
events of what was happening as well. So we ended up going through our miscarriage that month, which was definitely challenging for both of us. And I don't really care what people say. It like regardless of being like the fact that we found out we were pregnant and also miscarrying at the same time, meaning that we were probably very early on, I don't think changes the fact that it was still an upsetting time of our lives.
Yeah,
And
because the news of the positive pregnancy test
yeah,
kind of coincided with like, oh, there's these other symptoms that aren't great,
mm,
and then we're both googling frantically, like
yeah,
trying to like learn different things because we didn't know much about the process
mm,
and some of the things that could happen. So we were googling and we're like, maybe it's okay, maybe it's implantation bleeding,
yeah.
all these different things, and then it just yeah.
Obviously, child, if you're watching, I don't know. I hope you're of an age where this is appropriate. Otherwise, turn it off, please.
Well, I said implantation bleeding. I think that's pretty
I know,
PG.
but
Talk about blood in
our
general,
child
though.
doesn't need to hear about my periods and whatnot.
Yeah, I
So
can't believe you dropped the P word.
yeah. Anyways, this is I'm a bit confused who's watching this anymore.
No one's watching this.
It'll mainly just be for us. I think that's who I'm targeting towards. Um, and yeah, that was just definitely a hard month. And I think even just like again the biological things of what was happening with my body was just difficult to be confronted with. Um, and then that month passed, and the following month,
You're skipping through chapters here. You've jumped one.
really?
Well, you've gone from trying to miscarriage.
Or
You
what was?
bridged it.
Oh, I thought I talked about trying quite a bit.
Yeah, but I was gonna give my little
Oh,
2
I'm
cents.
so sorry. Okay.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. I'll just chronologically.
You
So,
gotta tell me when you have thoughts about stuff.
but I was
don't know.
letting
You're
you
just,
I was letting you riff. You were
yeah, I don't
jamming.
know when to stop.
You were just rocking out.
Yeah.
It's great. Good job. Just a few things I was going to mention about that. Just to add, is that 7 or 8 months, however long it was for us, is actually really not long. And we realized kind of early on, people told us, hey, like 6 months is like very normal to wait, as in to like actively not try. You know what that means. And like it's very normal for it to be 6 months, even 12 months. Like there's no sort of alarm bells at that point. That's just the process, how long it takes. So although like we had a miscarriage at 6 months
Something like that.
and 8 months, we got actually pregnant. Like that's pretty short in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, I just want to say that. And then in the journey of getting pregnant, there was also a bunch of other stuff that we like learned and kind of implemented, little things. No hot spas for me. So no hot spas or saunas because heat above like 37, 38, 40 degrees like nukes all of your living cells in your
Yeah, you don't need to
I'm
go
going to use
into
the
biological
G
of it.
word. Yeah, so it makes men like short term infertile essentially, or it can if like you're in the hot water for long enough. But anyway, so lots of little things that we learned about like fertility and with any weird things that you can remember or think of about fertility and things that we were trying or not trying to do. Alcohol's obviously an easy
Alcohol was
one.
a big one. I think I was very cautious about the amount of exercise I was doing because I know
Mm.
that intense exercise can affect hormones. But also, I was trying to make sure I was exercising to keep a balanced life. Definitely was trying to manage stress levels from a work perspective and sleeping more, and
Mm.
just a lot of like things that sound like, oh yeah, of course you do that, but just being more intentional with it. I think,
Mm.
yeah. Oh, and then yeah, definitely to taking the prenatals and
Yeah, prenatal is just a vitamin essentially with a bunch of
you
specific
don't need to
vitamins.
explain that, sweetie. I don't
Hey,
think
come
you
on.
can.
There's some like someone's
If you're
watching this.
talking to your future self,
Nah. But this I know. This is like I'm giving little tidbits for other people. Someone else will watch this and be interested, maybe. um, and fun fact: the male reproductive cells. I don't want to use the S word because it's a weird word. They take about 6 weeks to produce. So right now, I'm like my body is creating these cells that in 6 weeks' time will be ready. So it's this weird delay for men where like
then how does that work every time you release? Do you just run out at some point?
it's a weird word to use. Nah, there's another. Do you want to go into the details of it?
No, but this is what I mean.
There's like there's
we don't
concentration
yeah,
of the cells inside.
we don't need to go into
Yeah,
detail.
okay. That's enough of a
Yeah.
detail thing. It's all a bit weird, but it's not as well. Like this is like the human reproductive system. It's as old as
We have so much to cover though as well.
yeah. All right, cool. So that's getting pregnant. Not that easy. We ended up doing ovulation tests. I didn't. I didn't. So
Well,
when I often say we're pregnant, and it's one of those things that like I kind of like shake my head at
I'm
myself.
okay with the wet pregnant thing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for
I don't
validating
find that
me.
that weird. I
I've just
find
had
the
people laugh about it, and
yeah,
then
I
I'm
know.
like, yeah, maybe it is embarrassing saying we're pregnant, and I'm like, what have I done? No, not what have I done, but I'm not pregnant. I'm very much not pregnant. No.
Also, the only other thing I would add, I think we actually have talked about this in another video, like the first video that we filmed where we were eating.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we covered all of this.
Do you reckon we'll ever post that?
I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever post this, but we'll see.
It won't be in March, that's
Again,
for sure.
it was just the unsolicited advice whilst trying to get pregnant.
Oh yeah.
That was interesting journey in itself, but
As in just people just telling you stuff like, oh, just do this, and you're
yeah,
like, shut up, bro.
a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nah, but like bless them. People trying to help it, be nice, but it's not
yeah,
helpful sometimes.
yeah. Anyways,
Cool. Trying to get pregnant, great. Expectations versus realities. That was expectations versus realities. Miscarriage, as Veda touched on already, we had an early miscarriage, and yeah, I forgot that those happened pretty much simultaneously. The positive tests, and you're like, hey, this is exciting. I've got like a line, but I've also got other symptoms that aren't great, and it did feel it was quite emotional. It was quite upsetting.
and it was also quite time like what's the word? As in, it took a long time for us. Not a long time, but from finding out we were pregnant to then like the miscarriage, like confirming that. I think it was a long process of
Mm.
tests and then waiting and then more tests and more waiting. And I think
Yeah.
that was just
And a week doesn't sound like a long time when you look at it in the scale, but like when you're living out of each hour of every day, a week without like
torture.
these sort of answers that you're really wanting to know, a week is quite a long time. As you would know if you've had any sort of, well, ourselves would know. That's who we're talking to. Who's our audience?
We'll work on this video.
We don't have an audience.
We'll work on the next video.
This is us working on it.
Yeah, I know. This is like, as Jacob Collier says, just like make the worst thing possible, but then at least you've done it. Like, and you learn. Yeah.
You found out like yesterday who Jacob Collier was, and now you're quoting him.
Well, you know what?
Wow.
When
I love it.
When you're a fan, you're a fan. I really like him.
He is cool.
And I didn't find out yesterday.
No,
Thank you
no,
very much.
Yeah, but it was better for the joke that I just made. I was exaggerating. Miscarriage. Oh, it feels like a long time waiting a week, and you can't help but hope. You can't help but be like, oh, this is exciting. It's the first like sign of anything when you're trying, and every month is like the period comes along. It's like, oh, we missed this month. Like it didn't happen. It's a bit like of a disappointment and then we like celebrate with like a margarita or something.
Yeah.
Because
Or just a nice bottle of wine. that was my treat.
Nice glass
Oh,
from a
bottle.
bottle. White wine.
Shared.
Shared wine between
Shared.
4 of us. One standard drink.
Sure.
That's two anyway. No, so sorry, what did I say?
Miscarriage, and then the next month.
Miscarriage.
Then the next month, I did some, we went again, as our doctor advised us we were perfectly able to do. So, kept the momentum going. And I had what I saw was some really, really, really faint pregnancy lines. But as you know, when you're later, as you know, when you're trying to fall pregnant, like you look for even the faintest of lines because that gives you hope. And with pregnancy tests, a faint line generally will any line will generally mean you're positive. And we definitely saw some faint ones, but it gave me some hope. And then soon that faint line disappeared, and we think we had a chemical pregnancy where everything happens the way it should happen, but the little thing just doesn't eventuate into an egg. And so, again, I think it was just like the back-to-back journey of that was just hard again to deal with. But we made it through.
I've got to get better at like keeping a thought in my mind.
Okay.
Like while you're talking, I remember the thing I was going to say, and then I'm like, remember the thing, and then like it just.
How do podcasters do it then?
They're so good. They're so good, man. I think they write notes. I wrote a couple notes. I was going to just say. Oh my goodness, that's so frustrating.
Chemical
pregnancy.
Back to back. It's okay. Move on.
And then like the pressure's on, so you're like it makes your brain not work as.
That's okay. I'll just keep going.
You go. And I'm just gonna take it off you.
Yeah, you do that. Okay, so that's the timeline of that. I feel like this video isn't necessarily about pregnancy as a whole. More so, it should just be about the update. Although we've kind of done that anyways, as in the whole journey. But anyways, so I suppose from my point of view, after all of that happened, we were very much in a challenging season, but also in a season where we had to really exercise our faith. All right, bye bye.
Oh no! Yeah, I might have forgotten again. No, it was there. It's not even that good of a thing. Why'd you laugh? You made me like.
Hurry up!
You've made me lose it again. I think. Oh my goodness. Oh, when we got the test and the miscarriage, there was one glimmer of hope. This is what it was. It was like after 6 months or however it was of like nothing happening, the positive test, although it was quite sad because we were like, it doesn't seem like a good outcome. There was like a good feeling where we're like, oh, well, something's happening. So neither of us had done any sort of fertility testing or anything before. So we were just going into this assuming that both of us were healthy and fertile and had, good sperm motility and whatever else. But we didn't know. And then seeing that line, and even though we knew it was likely an early miscarriage, we were like, oh, well, that's kind of good. There's some action, something happening. So that was like, I remember having that being quite encouraging for me personally. And I tried to pass on that encouragement, but you were probably just feeling more of the pain of it.
And I try to hold on to it, I think.
Yeah.
You got to hold on to your hopes.
I can hold it for you.
I kind of like holding it.
Yeah, same.
Oh.
Imagine if we had two. If I had more of a budget for this thing, we'd have two of those.
Anyways, moving on. Yes. So after all of that, we were definitely in, I would say, just an activated faith season. I think in times like these where you really have no control, then you have to really surrender it to God and make sure that you trust His word. We trust His word. We trust His goodness. We trust that He
wants us to be parents.
Yes, we trust that He wants us to be parents, and the desires that He's given us in both our hearts are things that He has specifically given us and wants to fulfill. And it was just up to us to do what we can and wait for His timing. In saying that, though, we were in church around October, November, and I remember just really being in prayer about, I will want us to fall pregnant. I want us to be parents. and God, like, please make it happen, almost.
Mm.
Not almost, that was the prayer. And we had one of our good mates, Andy, who is a pastor at the church we go to, say a prayer at church, not directed towards us, but it was directed to people wanting to fall pregnant, which we think he made eye contact with us.
Thanks, Andy. He's watching this for sure.
Which we think he made eye contact with us and said that prayer as well. So hopefully we thought he was thinking of us. That those wanting to fall pregnant would fall pregnant before the end of the year, and that they would be full-term healthy babies. And so I just remember being in that service, clinging on to that prayer massively, and just thinking, okay, well, this is our timeline. Like, before the end of the year, we will fall pregnant, because I will lean into this declaration and lean in to what this prayer
means.
Yeah, what this prayer means. And so we didn't fall pregnant in November, which, again, sad moment, but moved on. And pretty much in December, I was just like, okay, well, we just have this month. Like, not that we just have this month, but this is the month then. If we're falling pregnant for the end of the year, and I trust God and am believing for this prayer, then I will believe for the fact that we will fall pregnant before the end of the year. And so we were doing the ovulation tests.
I didn't ban her from doing it. It sounds weird. We discussed how Veda was doing a lot of pregnancy tests. Like, she did do like one every day for like a week and a half, and I'm like, you end up buying these cheap ones off Amazon.
I have really weird cycles, anyways. Yes.
Anyway, but like, and every time she's doing the test, obviously there's like this level of expectation. There's a bit of a curve that goes on where you get excited and hopeful and anticipation, and it's a negative result, you get a bit sad. Anyway, it was just not a helpful cycle for you to go through like really regularly. So we were like, hey, we've got to stop like putting yourself through this. And so we both decided together, no more pregnancy tests until like you're like a month late. Like, let's just not.
That was the decision.
Yeah. But then you found a loophole. So she found something called an ovulation test, which is a similar setup. It's a little strip thing that detects a hormone in the
detects when you're ovulating.
Yeah,
which we used, and that was helpful.
We used it, and it was helpful, and it was like Christmas, just before, like a week or two before Christmas, that you were ovulating, and
thus you were conceived,
and we got pregnant. And so it was before the end of the year, which was cool.
It was before the
So it was something we were hoping for, and obviously we were hoping to get pregnant whenever.
Well, there's a bit of an anticlimax to the story, the way that you said it. But anyways, yes. So, the prayer was that we would fall pregnant before the end of the year, and we found out.
Who knows? Were we going to or not? Next episode, find out.
No, but we found out on the 28th of December
that
we were pregnant. We were pregnant.
Special yes. Yeah, good job. So we were pregnant.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I think we were both very cautious at this stage.
Yeah, very cautious.
Just, knowing.
First test is always light, and you're like, is that a line? Probably a line.
No, that one wasn't like, is there a line? That one was like,
there was
a
definitely
line.
a line. Yeah.
It was faint, but it wasn't faint.
It wasn't like Veda saw some invisible lines before this. Like, she'd be like, is this a line? And I'm like, there's no line there. And she's like, I think I can see. She's like squinting at it in the light.
Hey.
You were. This was definitely a line.
Yeah.
And so we were like, cool.
Yeah.
But we'd had the two sort of early false alarms, we'll call them. Yeah. So we were like, let's chill, let's put on the brakes and just give it a couple of days, which again is a long time when you're.
But then every day I was doing a test.
You were.
To like track
which was okay.
The boldness of the lines getting darker. Yeah. And they did.
Yeah. So that was great. So we did get more and more excited about it over the few days. It was interesting. How did you find like me being on the journey versus like you surprising me? Because I feel like a lot of girls have this like picture in their mind where they do like a test and it's positive and there's like it's a secret from the husband, and then he comes home one day and she like has a dog with a bow tie and it's blue and it's like, I'm having a. That's a really weird way to do it.
No one does.
I feel like I saw that.
But okay.
Someone did it once. And it's like we're having a baby and then the husband's surprised and it's exciting. Whereas I was like just with you every step of the way. I was like dipping the little strip into the liquid I wasn't really. I didn't do that's a bit gross.
Yeah, weird.
But I was there.
You were
Were you disappointed by not being able to like?
Honestly, a little bit. Only because like I had envisioned surprising you, and that's what I wanted. And before we even were trying, I remember going to the gym and thinking about how I would tell you and surprise you. And so, it was a little bit disappointing if I'm, if I'm going to be honest, that I wasn't able to do that. In saying that though, I think it was also very special to do it together because of our journey. And we're not one and done, God willing.
Mm.
And so there's more chances to surprise you later down the track. So
Yeah, true. I hadn't thought about that.
yeah.
Baby number 2, if you exist yet, could have been a surprise.
If we're doing this video next year, I don't think you'll exist yet.
Nah, this is my 80-year-old self.
Work. Yeah.
What a weird concept that we could make this video, put it on the internet, and it could like live for like 200 years or more. I find that such a bizarre and interesting idea. And for me, it's like a motivation to do this sort of thing because like our kids can watch this, and that's kind of, yeah, that's cool. But like our grandkids can watch this, our great grandkids can watch this. We could have like descendants. What are you looking at? Like in like 100 years watching this. I just find that such an interesting thought and concept.
Anyways, I feel like we have more ground to cover.
Yeah, I've just been really excited about that idea for a while.
I'm glad.
It really made me want to do this more. Because I think I found like a book once from like my great granddad or something in wherever it was in New Zealand, and it was like poetry or like songs, hymns that he'd written,
45
handwritten,
minutes.
and I was like, this thing is so cool. I found it so cool seeing something from like an old ancestor. I think I've gotten to that stage of my life where I'm into ancestry. I think that's like a +30 thing where you want to know about like your family roots and stuff. So maybe that's just no one else is that interested, and I find it really interesting. Anyway, getting pregnant. We got pregnant. We've just covered that. And then, yeah, so we went to the doctors. Normally, you do a blood test, and they test the levels of HCG, which is the chemical
Yes.
that is in your blood that says that you are pregnant. Gonadotropin, something or other. That's the G. Gonads. It's a weird word.
Hurry up.
So that was the word I wasn't supposed to say earlier. Males and females have them. It's like the reproductive. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay.
I said the G word. It's a weird word.
G word. It's just we gotta. Okay.
Yeah, we're 47 minutes in. It's not that long.
Well,
We're gonna run out of
that's
steam
what
pretty
I listen
soon.
to.
I listen to like 3-hour podcasts,
I know. I listen to like a good.
and
4
hopefully, like someone's not like watching this like in a rush to go somewhere. Hopefully, they're just like sinking into it and just like chilling with us.
I don't think anyone's sticking around for this long.
If you're sticking around for this long, thank you for being here. It's probably just ourselves and our children, and maybe our descendants in 200 years. Wow, fascinating. What a thought. So we did the blood tests. Yes, guys, you are pregnant. Congratulations. I think you do a second one to make sure the levels are like, because the HCG level drastically increases. So they do a second one. They're like, yep, you're like, it's going up. Everything's looking good. After that test, did you do any blood tests?
We did a dating scan.
6 weeks?
Yep, 6-week dating.
Yep. So you kind of, after your blood test in like week 2.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's like already week 4, isn't
Well,
it?
actually, you kind
Technically.
of skipped a little bit. So we did a blood test, found out that we were confirmed pregnant, which is great. And now HCG levels were way higher than when we were testing for the first time when we had that miscarriage. And so that was a really great positive sign. We then went away on a camping trip. And during that camping trip...
You said discharge, are you?
Well, you just said it. But anyways, during that camping trip, I... During that camping trip, I had some issues with my body that were likened to what it was like having a miscarriage before. Essentially,
we had no reception.
We had no reception. We were out camping. You're saying all
yeah,
the
I
things.
had the bee on the. I saw the bee forming on your lips.
Anyways, yes. So that was definitely a very scary moment, and just thinking, oh no, is this happening to us again? And also trying to be present camping, but also trying to just figure out what was going on and deal with all the emotions.
1 minute you're catching a dart in the surf.
Yeah.
Next minute.
Yes.
Stuff's happening.
Anyways, so that was that I think was what provoked us to do. We essentially packed up our camping trip when, like, not early, the
next day.
Yeah, when we were supposed to. No, it was like 2 days later. To because that was meant to be the end of the camping trip. And as we were driving home, I called my doctor, who was great, and also booked in for a same day ultrasound. And that was actually, I think we did a blood test then as well. Yeah, we did a blood test that same day, and then did an ultrasound that same day. And that was the first time that we saw a gestational sac.
Was that the dating scan then?
No.
Oh, this is the early one.
Yeah,
Where it was
this
like a
is an
blob.
early one. Yeah, it was a blob. There was
Looking
just
for
a
a blob in
gestational
there.
sac. There wasn't a blob yet. I think it was just the sac.
Cluster of cells.
I don't know if we saw it yet. I don't know if it's too early.
No,
to
it was
see
tiny.
blob.
Sorry, it's inside the sac.
Yeah,
There's
okay.
like a sac and there's like a little.
But yeah, so everything was positive. So yeah, long story short, we weren't miscarrying. My body just has a symptom or an issue where it does certain things that can be scary for someone who's pregnant.
Yeah, if you want to know more about it, children, just come and ask us and we'll tell you the.
Anyways, so we did a blood test, and then that blood test showed that our HCG levels were rising again. So again, everything was looking great. And we went to the doctor, and he gave us the usual referrals to do the next few things, which was that 6-week dating scan. And we did that and saw little.
It looks like a. It looks like a.
I think we saw the yolk sac.
Looks like a seahorse.
Oh yeah.
It's like this weird looking little. Like it's like a body, but it's like a weird shape, and it's got a little It's got a little heartbeat going on.
I saw the heartbeat.
You've got a little heartbeat going on. It's like this. You see this like little flashing on the screen, which is essentially, the heart. I think it was like 180 beats per second or 150 or something. It's pretty fast. And blob.
I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, look at that. Science.
That's you.
Wow. So that was cool seeing the little heartbeat. You don't hear anything at that stage, but it's a sign of life, which was great.
Sign of life, yeah. Fast forward a little bit. Again, I think being more of an anxious first trimester pregnant woman, we actually ended up doing another scan at 9 weeks. Because I went from being really nauseous to one day waking up and not being nauseous, and it was very confusing, a bit scary. I was confused about whether or not my other symptoms were still there.
Scale of 1 to 10, how good was nausea?
I don't even know how to answer that.
It's pretty bad. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so you did an extra scan because
we did an extra scan.
We did an extra scan, not you.
An extra scan.
We're in this together.
At 9 weeks, just to check everything was okay, because the doctor said to me, look, if you're worried and this is happening, then just do the scan. You can get reassured. So we did the scan and everything was all fine. The baby was all fine.
Was that ultrasound?
Yeah, ultrasound. Baby was all fine and growing normally, so had nothing to worry about at that point.
Yeah.
And then kept carrying on with our first trimester.
Tell me about nausea. Tell me all about it. Morning sickness is a misnomer. Doesn't happen in the morning, and
it's just tiring thinking about it.
You're still going through a little bit of it, aren't you?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like, nah, well, not like what you were going through. Before it was every day, all day.
Yeah, honestly, it's kind of coming back. But let's just. I'm trying to stay positive.
Yeah.
So first trimester, I think it started pretty much around the end of week 5, week 6, which is when it's usually supposed to start. And it did. And, at first I remember saying to Ruben, I think we were in week 4 or 5, I can't wait to be nauseous because it means that my pregnancy is going well. That lasted for about a day.
I'd quote that to you every day, wouldn't I, when you were sick?
Well, I don't know if you did.
No, I didn't.
No.
Would have been funny, though. Not funny.
I would have killed you. Yeah. But yes, lasted for about a day until I realized the unrelenting feeling of nausea and the just...
What is nausea?
Well, I don't really know how to describe it. It's
Weak,
just
sick.
weak, just the constant feeling of unwellness, and just like the need of wanting to throw up, but like sometimes I would. Going to work with it was horrendous. And trying to also hide the fact that I was pregnant whilst trying to hide the fact that I was really unwell. It was just tough. And I not to exaggerate, I know people go through a lot of bad things, but it was definitely or it's definitely has been one of the toughest things I've had to go through. I think it's just like knowing that this was not going to stop. And I think because
Every day it was just
yeah,
going to
and
wake up
because
again and
I didn't have any periods in the day where I was like, oh, at least I'll know at nighttime I'll feel better, or in the morning I'll be okay. It was,
eat a couple crackers, feel better.
yeah, but it was like
None of that.
wake up, go, and then like until I put my head down on the pillow, it was just nausea. Was often vomiting maybe 2-3 times a day. I didn't have HG. I don't think.
No way. Because you were keeping a lot of food
Yeah,
down. It was just like a constant sick.
Yeah.
Just like didn't want to move, didn't want to like, couldn't do anything.
I
Just,
lost like a lot of will to clean and cook and function. Really had to cancel on a lot of social events, which I think was in itself also kind of nice to be like, you know what, there's a time in life where you just say no to things and it has to be okay. And if it's not okay with them, well, tough, because I can't do it. And so it was rough. And you know, and I would even like, I think honestly, for complete transparency, it was a wrestle of a feeling, because I wanted to be pregnant so badly, and then when I finally got to this stage of, you know, progressing with the pregnancy and in this first trimester, and just being like in the depths of it in weeks 7 and 8 and 9, and just thinking to myself, I actually don't know if I can do this, but I actually like, but I don't have a choice, you know, but I want this baby, but I like, this is really, really hard. And I think, like, again, you know, you might hear 6 weeks or 5 weeks and think, oh, that's not too long. But when it's the day after day after day of like, you know, you've got 5 weeks of, or 6 more weeks at least for this first trimester of feeling this way, it just
defeating.
becomes, yeah. And, you know, just it was hard. It was hard. But you were very, it was nice to have you support me and help me and help around the house a lot more. So I really appreciate you being there. I didn't appreciate some of the laughing.
She'd make this noise.
Some of the jokes. But
made me laugh
the
every
most
time. She'd just like she'd be sitting on the couch and like no warning, she'd just be like make this. I can't even make the noise. It was this loud, like she was about to like something was about to come out of.
You know.
And it just made me laugh because she'd be so casual about it. Then she'd just like sit there again. And I'm like, do you need like a bucket, or like what was that just came out of you? And also, fun fact about it, can't really burp, so she has to like cough to burp, and it's like she's gagging. It's a really like not a great thing to experience.
It's not great to experience for me either.
You've been learning, actually. You've been getting better at burping.
Yeah.
Good on you. And I think you're more gassy and stuff at certain times in the pregnancy. So, yeah. Anyway, so morning sickness, awful. Started to get better week 12.
Yeah.
And like you felt like you were more of a human again.
Yeah, I was still like not like 100%, but definitely felt more able to function as a human. I was able to. I remember going out to the DFO on that weekend and being like, I'm out and walking and, you know, just living my life, and that was so
Being happy.
refreshing. Yeah, like I was still like, ugh, I feel a little bit off, but nowhere near as bad to the point where I could actually go outside. So that was really nice. So yeah, week 12 it started to get better. Yeah.
And then the last, I guess, chapter we're going to talk about, which is sort of something we're going through now and tomorrow, is we mentioned this at the start, didn't we? We're finally getting to it. That's for retention. There's we're trying to give people Easter egg at the start, and then like you finally get to it at the end, and then like, oh wow, that was satisfying. Hopefully this is satisfying. But we
did our 13.
Oh yeah, sorry, the scan. So there's a scan called the nuchal translucency scan. So it's 13 weeks, and essentially it's just like they're all called all of this is called screening. So it's like checking different stages through the pregnancy to make sure the baby's the right size, the right this, the right that, the heart rate, the length, all different things that are like within normal parameters. And so this one is measuring like some fluid at the back of the neck, so like a fluid-filled sac.
But it's also just to check that the baby's okay as well at 13 weeks.
Yeah, it's a general
first trimester, you know, can be a bit more of a high risk time.
General checkup, but it's called the nuchal translucency. That's what that thing is. So anyway, so they measure that. It's like a number of millimeters. You know, they'll say like between 0.5 and 2 millimeters is pretty standard. If it's 3 millimeters and above, it's like you're in a risk category, and if it's above there's risk categories, I guess. And so they did ours, and they were the radiographer.
Wait, so you're skipping a bunch of stuff. We didn't even, yeah. So get to the day of the scan. So
So there we are. It's the morning. Woken up.
skipping ahead.
Vader was a bit hungry for a toasted sandwich, so as you know, I did lots. How long was I was making toasted sandwich for like
Weeks.
a good month there.
Lots of sourdough.
Pretty much every day. Fresh sourdough bread, sliced tomato,
Salt and
pepper and cheese.
Battery's dying.
It's fine. It'll get another 15 minutes. Anyway, so had a beautiful sandwich. Wow.
And
Ready for the scan. Excited going into the
we were
scan.
looking forward to the scan because like
Baby's formed. Doesn't look like a
We're
seahorse.
looking forward to not looking, but seeing our baby. We're also looking forward just to I think for the first trimester, just being a bit on edge, or at least I was, of just being like, okay, is this pregnancy actually going to happen? Am I pregnant? I think it took me, or it's taken me a while to actually accept the fact that I was pregnant.
And being sick, you were probably like, is this all normal? Am I okay?
Well, not even.
Okay?
I think being sick as well even distracted me from the fact that I was pregnant. Like I wasn't looking up baby stuff. I was just trying to survive.
But you were often like, is this hurting the baby? And you'd throw up and you'd be like, is that hurting the baby?
Yeah.
You'd have to
Yeah, I think just trying to make sure that baby was okay, that I was okay, all that. And so I was very much looking forward to this 13-week scan to be able to take that breath and go, okay, we did it. We're here. We can move on.
Well done framing the story. That was good. You should have started it.
Well, I should.
Why'd you let me?
I don't know.
So there we were.
Yes. So we had booked in our scan at 13 weeks and 2 days. Oh, light's flashing. And that's just generally when they say to do the scan. It's called the 12-week scan, but I think a lot of people do it the 13-week scan, something like that. It was around 1:30. I remember at week 7 counting down to the scan because I was like, I just want to get here. And we finally made it, and I was excited. I don't remember that day being very nervous. I think I was just like, oh, it'll be fine. It'll be great.
Yeah.
I think because I was so nauseous throughout it all, I was like, surely, if nothing else, the gratitude I can take from this moment or these moments is that our baby is healthy because mama is throwing up.
And you see people's scans at the 12 or 13 week and they look like babies and you're like, oh, that's cool. So they're kind of excited to see this, you get the first glimpse of your actual baby. Hey, mate, how's it going?
Yeah. So we rock up to our scan and we get in there. The sonographer, actually I remember on the day, felt a bit unorganized or disorganized. We walked into the room just as someone else was leaving and she had to clean up and put up new paper. It was very interesting. And their TV was broken. It was just probably just didn't set us up very well.
And you're not supposed to film or take photos in those rooms? I did. Some really good footage.
Do you want me to continue or do you want to talk about it after?
You're killing this.
Okay. Well, yeah, so then I lie down on the chair and, just they do the usual thing. They put the gel on you. They you've got a full bladder, so you just also...
Yeah, no one talks about that. Full bladder, and it's hard to time because they say you have to have a full bladder, but you've got to pre-plan that. So a half an hour before you're loading up on water and you're how full's too full?
I've had to empty my bladder a few times.
You had to
tests
a half, do a half a wee.
I was just I cannot.
And because they're pushing on your stomach as well.
I know. You know that they're going to hammer down on your bladder. Anyways, I actually was good that day. I didn't overdrink.
Nailed it.
Yeah. But anyway, so then we're lying there and she's going through all the, she's putting the thing down the baby.
Yeah.
We see our baby. We see what's starting to look like, the head, the spine.
Limbs, arms,
limbs.
legs.
And I'm not great at looking at it. I can see the general baby, but most of it I'm like, what's this? Is that? And is this that? And
and she was quite helpful.
Oh no, she wasn't.
Then she was alright.
No, because I remember I was like, oh, is this a leg? And she's like, are you gonna let me do it, or are you gonna just? Or she said something like that. She's like, I need to look at this, so Anyways.
Yeah, I think because at the start she was just doing general looking around. Hey, what's going on in here?
But
scanning.
She was very talkative at the beginning. She's like, this is that, and this is this, and this is that, and okay, we got this, and this is this size. So she was very talkative.
I guess she's in her mind, she's probably doing a bit of a checklist. I've got to check. Does it have a head? Great. It's got an arm and a leg, and it's kind
This
of
is that. This is the heartbeat,
yeah.
and
And then she starts to look for like indicators.
yeah.
So she's got her list of like, okay, these are the things I really want to see, and I need to measure and check. And as she started to do those things, she kind of went really quiet, and you could tell that she was like trying to get an angle, and she was trying to see something, looking up on the screen, and they do shorthand notes where they'll be like this length to here, and put notes on the scans. But you could just tell she was sort of in the zone, and she was
She changed her
quite
demeanor.
yeah. Her demeanor sort of changed to be a bit more serious and a bit more like not frantic, but like a bit more concerned. Which I think she has a hard job. It's hard probably sitting in those rooms with people like us trying to get information. And she's not a doctor, and she's not supposed to really tell us anything. She's just there to take photos essentially. And we're like, what's this? What's that? What do you think about this? Like we're asking her all these questions, and she's trying to be professional and reserved. So I have some grace for her. I know you were a little bit disgruntled by her.
Look, I probably don't think I could look at her in the face again.
Well, yeah, and
but not just because like it's not necessarily personal. It's just like anyways,
there
it
was
a hard
that day felt a bit traumatic.
It was a hard day.
Small T trauma.
But yes,
sorry, that's
so
the thing.
yes, she goes silent. Her demeanor changes, and the next words that come out of her mouth is, "I need you, or no, I want you to go talk to your doctor sooner than later."
Yeah.
And I'm hearing those words and going, "What does that mean?" I think I asked her. I was like, "Why?" And she said, "I can't see an abdominal lining on your baby." And I remember at the time, actually, it didn't frighten me because at the time I just thought, oh, like you'll see it soon. Like the baby's just at the wrong angle. If you just move your thing, you'll see what you'll need to see. But
yeah, there was a few things she was saying. Yeah, and I could sort of see them. I was sort of like getting a pretty good view of it all, and it looked like the intestines were like outside of the body, and which I think there's two different conditions that actually can be that both of them are pretty treatable and okay. One is it's like it is essentially the intestines are out either through a hernia or through the umbilical cord, and you can actually give birth to the baby and then they put the intestines back in the baby, stitch it up, and it lives on like with a completely normal life. So she measured then the nuchal, which we later discovered was 3.5, 3.6.
So you're fasting ahead a little bit. Maybe I'll tell the story.
We're at 67 minutes. I'm trying to get through some of this. What else are you trying to tell here?
Trying to fast
What else are you trying to tell here? What else am I missing?
We'll work on these videos. Okay, so yeah, so then she didn't really tell us much. She scared us a little bit. I let you have your moments. Now I feel like I'm rushed.
Don't rush.
Anyways.
No rush.
Yeah, so she told us to see our doctor sooner than later because she couldn't see abdominal lining. I then asked her a few questions, obviously in a bit of a panic, and I just said, is our baby okay? Like, are we okay? Is everything really bad? And she couldn't answer anything, and all she kept saying was, you need to go see your doctor. I remember her saying about the baby,
textbook radiologist.
Yeah, like, I don't know. She kind of gave me this face that I still remember, just being like,
yeah, actually, I remember that face.
Yeah, I remember the face.
Where she was just like, that's why I was it's not looking good.
That's why I just don't think I could look at her again because it just wasn't a great time.
When you're there, like with this expectation, what the scan's going to go like.
It's our first pregnancy. We've had these miscarriages, and she knows the history. And so, again, I know she was just doing. Yes, it's probably just whatever. Anyways,
sorry, I'm just too nice, maybe.
So yeah, she said she's going to get our blood test results and rush a report to our doctor, which was supposed to go within the next hour. And
so she was helpful, and she gave us like helpful information, and I think she did what she could.
Yeah.
But it was just a bit like her non-verbal communication was a bit hard to see. Yeah.
But yes, so we didn't end up getting the results that day because they couldn't get a clinic to verify the reports through this other computer or something like that. That was a Tuesday. I usually go into work on a Wednesday because it's mandatory. And I remember obviously that Tuesday night was, it wasn't easy and we were confused and trying to think hopefully and whatnot. But we also were just in the unknown stages of, okay, we don't know what this means or what it could mean. We don't know if our baby's okay. We do know that our baby has a heartbeat that beats at 154 beats per minute. I remember that.
It's good, like jogging pace,
But yeah, so we had to wait till the next day. I decided to go into the office. Now thinking, why did I decide to do that? But I just thought it would be okay. Um, and I was just waiting for a phone call from my doctor, um, and also waiting for the ultrasound to do their part and send the reports and scans through. Um, and then at 12 o'clock, I get a call from my doctor. I remember hearing his voice actually and thinking, like, he doesn't sound like he's got good news.
Mm.
And he didn't. And so he said, look, I've looked at your report. Unfortunately, the report says that your baby is high risk of Downs or has high risk of Down syndrome. They couldn't see the cardiac structure very well on the report.
That's where it was. Yeah.
Your baby has a high nuchal transparency of 3.6 millimeters. They also couldn't see or focus on the abdominal lining.
Yeah.
And so all of these are not great indicators, unfortunately, for you. And I remember asking him, okay, well, is this, I think I asked him, like, is this gonna, could this actually end up being okay, or is this more likely to come with bad news? And he was like, look, I would actually think that this is gonna end up resulting in more bad news
Could
than
end
it
up worse.
will
Yeah.
than it will good news. And his conversation sounded like that our baby is not necessarily viable, or that we might have to make a decision about termination. Nowhere in the conversation did it sound like our baby is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And again, quite a traumatic conversation to have. Needless to say, I had to go home from work that day. And then I ended up taking Ruben with me to go see that doctor so that he could explain it to him, because I didn't want to miss anything. I just wanted him to also hear, to know the full story.
Yeah.
And so the next step, which we're doing tomorrow, is that they referred us to a Mater fetal maternal clinic, or MFM clinic,
Yeah.
to do a
Now you're
more.
jumping ahead.
Okay, yes, to do a scan. But
So in the meantime, so we got this kind of like result from the doctor, and then because we had scans and all that information, so we did a bit of a deep dive. And when I say we, probably more so me.
yes, I didn't want to deep dive.
So I was getting these measurements on the scan of the all sorts of different things. It does the skull measurement, the length, and then the nuchal translucency, some other indicators. I was just basically doing a bunch of research of like medical papers, most of them in the US, but about like case studies of children who were born with different indicators and then went on to live happy, great lives. So I read some quite encouraging, one really encouraging report that had like 20 different cases where they followed from this, just about this nuchal translucency, that number, that 3.6. And so that gave me some hope. And then there was a few other indicators. One of them is the nose bone, super random. But son, if you're watching this, hopefully you are watching this and you have a nose bone. Congratulations. A really positive indicator that they can see that in the imaging, and that's a positive indicator for Down syndrome, that your child doesn't have trisomy 21, I think it is.
Yeah.
So we did a bunch of research and learned some stuff, and then it was nice then going to the doctor and having like some of that stuff confirmed, and with medical things, what I think we realized is that a lot of it is about it's like the likelihood of something happening. So like the doctor's not saying, hey, your child has Down syndrome or your child isn't going to be viable. The doctors say like there's a risk factor, which makes sense. Like from a medical point of view, there's risk factors, but it feels like for us, like it makes it feel a lot more scary, and like it doesn't feel like it's a 1 in 70 chance. It feels like oh no, this is happening, and it's going to be the worst news that there could be, that the child has the abdominal issues, heart issues, all these different issues. So we really went through like a wave of like grief and loss, and just like it was painful having to hear that and then come to terms with it, and then hearing like even and thinking of the thought about abortion. I know I shouldn't have said that word because it's a trigger word. But like even thinking about that was really challenging. It was like, man, like we know where we stand about abortion, and we're like we are pro life generally, rather than pro choice. People have their own views, whatever. But I think we like knew where we stood. But having like the medical professional say, "Hey, this is an option, and we can talk about your different options," it just makes it real in a way that like nothing ever has before.
It makes it like reality in a sense. It's
Yeah,
easy to discuss theoretical, what do you think about this and what do you think
yeah,
about this topic? And then it's not until you're confronted with it, you're like, wow, like,
yeah,
what do you mean I have to think about this?
yeah. It's a
Um,
different way to.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so we had a pretty rough couple of days
Yeah.
after that, and I think we really like we felt like we were losing the baby, and we were really like
Grieving.
grieving and really just like not hopeful about it. It just seemed like really bad news. We were really worried. Um, and then so we got the dates for the scans and stuff, and like you got to go for this extra scan that's a high resolution, and we'll do it in a few weeks. So
which
that
was which in itself was, I was like, what? Because when we first got told by our doctor that we were getting this referral, he was like, I'm doing this on an urgent basis and it's all very time sensitive, so I was expecting to do the scan like that next week.
or next day or
Or
something.
yeah, and then we ended up getting this phone call. Or actually, I ended up having to call them because I didn't get a phone call within the time frame that I was told. And getting told that I'm not actually going to be doing the scan for another 2 weeks, which at the time I was like, please don't tell me I have to wait 2 weeks to find out the future of our baby, because that seems really hard to do and really like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So 2 weeks is when we're told. Let's put a pause, and I'm going to change the battery.
Okay.
Intermission, which won't be an intermission for you because it's happened straight away.
It's not showing.
Yeah, it's not coming back. Okay, we are back with a new battery. So you're saying it was 2 weeks that you were told it was going to take until, and that was the 16-week mark they wanted to get to.
Yeah.
And so you're like, why is it so long? But also, there was a bit of a hope where we're like, oh, the baby's got more time to grow and for things to.
And for God to, do what He needs to do in that moment, because we're absolutely believing for a miracle for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think that's why we can talk about this at the moment and not be like.
Yeah. Well, we're in a very different space now, headspace, than when we first found out, like what we were talking about, which we'll get to.
But yeah, okay.
So so we kind of we're like, okay, 2 weeks time, we'll wait it out, and it's going to be a better high resolution scan. It's going to be specialists who do these scans every day, all day, and are like the best of the best at Marta. So we were a bit down for a while, and then we were like, okay, we've got to try to still have some hope, and we were telling people like bit by bit, just being like, hey guys, keep us in your prayers. This is what we're sort of going through, and we're hoping for the best, but we're really worried about things not going well. And
definitely in time we were rallying for prayers, because we told a lot of people, close friends, and people that we wanted to tell before the 12-week mark, which a lot of people say you shouldn't, or whatever, and times have changed. But in our heads, we told those people so that if something was to go wrong, we had people in our corner that could pray for our baby and pray for us. Yeah, and so it came to a time where we needed to do that. So we rallied for prayers. We ended up going to Sydney for a few days for a work thing, and I think that was actually good in hindsight. It helped clear our heads to get away from everything and just take us out of the environment to just have a bit of a distraction for a little bit. And we came back, we went to church, got lots of prayers, had people speak over us and encourage us. And
just when we went that morning.
Yeah. And I think that really changed our spirits and changed our perspective.
Yeah. There was a lot of talk. We talked to some pastors of ours who wanted to pray for us, and they're awesome. And they're like, they've got kids, and they're sort of their kids like teenagers now, but they're like, we've journeyed through a lot of people going through this sort of stuff, and they really had this mentality where they're like, we want to sort of like fight for a good outcome and believe for a good outcome, and like and have a faith that's sort of like bold that something good will happen, and there'll be a bit of a turnaround. And that was nice, because I think before that I naturally sometimes have a bit of a default state of whatever will be, God, I trust you and your plan and whatever, and a bit of a passive maybe perspective with some of these things. And so it was an encouragement that like, no, we can kind of like, we can believe and we can have faith for a good outcome. We don't have to just say, oh God, your will be done. We can be like, no, Lord God, we want this to happen. We want
And we believe that
positive.
you want this to happen.
Yeah, we believe this is what you would want, and you want us to have big parents and have a family and whatnot. And we're gonna fight and believe that something good is gonna come out of this, and it's gonna be healthy. It's gonna be a full term baby. Um, yeah, so it shifted our perspective, which was really nice. Like since then, we've been in a lot better headspace.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think having so many people pray for us and pray for baby, like there's so many different thoughts that have gone through my head. Like one of them's just like we've seen our close friends go through a miracle with their baby recently, and I'm very much, if God can do it for them, then God can do it for us. We've heard stories from another friend who had a diagnosis with her baby at 20 weeks that she had a 1% chance to live if she didn't abort, and she chose to stick true to what God's word says and not what the doctors says, even though we trust medical professionals and love them. But and her daughter is thriving,
Yeah.
and so I think just anchoring ourselves to hope has been foundational for us. I think also just like we've had the people who have prayed for us have been really specific with the words that they've said, and I've just chosen to stand on. And I think that's really like a lesson for me in throughout this journey, like in the past few weeks, has been like, when it talks in the Bible about spurring one another on, like when I have moments of doubt in the past 2 weeks, which has come and gone often, they go because I replace those thoughts with the prayers of people and with the words that people have spoken to us, and obviously with God's word, but they're speaking God's word to us, and so I've just really leaned on that, and that's been really encouraging. And yeah, I think again, I think that's why we can film this video and both feel hopeful and both really believe that tomorrow we're going to see a miracle.
Yeah.
So I think in one way we're excited because we're excited to just have this part of this pregnancy be done with and just be able to move on to excitement and acceptance that this is, we're going to have a baby in September, which is nice. There is definitely nerves within me. Had a bit of a cry before just because sometimes just the emotions just need to come out. And it's just a real place, like at the end of the day, it's still a big moment tomorrow. But trying to do our best to just really believe that our baby will be okay, and seeing a lot of positive indicators and realizing that, when we first heard all the news, it sounded like our baby didn't have a cardiac structure and it sounded like our baby doesn't have an
Didn't
abdominal
have any
lining.
hope, sort of thing.
And then rereading the reports with more of a clarity and sane mind, and realizing that the report actually says the baby's cardiac structure can't be focused on, or things just can't be seen. Not that it isn't there. So it's just hopeful that tomorrow.
And he's got a nose bone.
And he's got a nose bone.
I've got a pretty prominent nose.
And so we're just, I think in these past 2 weeks, it's been more of a peaceful time than I would have ever expected it to be, which is just absolutely like, I think, the fruit of the Holy Spirit working in us, and through us through the prayers of many. And so I think, I think it's been definitely easier than I expected. And I was even reflecting at this because I've gone to work these past 2 weeks and gone to the office when I was supposed to and did the work that I've been supposed to do, not just, but like that I'm doing at work. And I often think these, because the bosses and some of the girls know, just because of
couldn't really keep it a secret.
I couldn't really keep it a secret, and I had to tell them why I was off and leaving early those few days. But I was thinking to myself, like, the people at work must think I'm delusional. Like, they must think I'm in such denial that I'm just acting so normal. And in one way, I'm like, maybe there is a small part of me that's just disassociating or in denial. But I truly believe that a big part of it is like the fact that I've just been carried through this by the Holy Spirit and by his peace and being filled with his joy, that I am able to laugh, that I'm able to be positive, that I'm able to be hopeful. And whenever I think like, different things that people say that aren't hopeful, I've really been trying to like replace it with the words, but you don't know my God. Like, it's just been really foundational for me in these past few weeks of like, okay, this person may see this, but they don't know my God. And they might think I'm in denial, but they don't know my God. And like, it's been encouraging.
Yeah, cool.
It's been my process in the past few weeks, but
um, there's absolutely, and I don't want to touch on it too much but there's the reality that if tomorrow doesn't go well, I don't know what that looks like. And it's
Mm.
one of those things where I will have to wrestle with it if
Yeah.
we get to that point. But
Yeah.
I'm not focusing on that
Yeah.
because there's no point.
Yeah, there's like that. Like, that's a big thing we realize is like if we think worst case and we really like explore that and allow ourselves to focus on those sorts of thoughts, you sort of go through the bad news
Twice.
like without it being we go through it twice possibly,
Yeah.
or like you're going through it without any reason. You're putting yourself through all this stress and all this worry. So when you're in that waiting period,
And especially when I'm carrying the baby, sorry to interrupt.
yeah, no, totally,
Like especially when I'm carrying the baby, I remember the pastor saying to us, you're a parent now. What you think your baby's thinking, what you feel your baby's feeling, what you're eating your baby's eating. And so I had to be really conscious that I'm like, well, it's true. Like our baby has a heartbeat and our baby's alive, and so I have to do what I need to do now as a parent to just stay hopeful. Because if I can't do it now, then it's going to be hard later when.
And we like for that first like day or two when we got the bad news, we couldn't really function. We were just like, we were just so in like that mode of just like despair.
Yeah.
And like we couldn't have done that for 3 weeks. Like something had to shift, and it was really nice that we got this like faith perspective shift. Yeah, and yeah. So I guess it comes to tomorrow, which I am like very excited for and hopeful for, and I guess making this video, we've talked a few times at the start of it about we're saying this to our children and to a future us. We are really believing for a great, healthy pregnancy and full-term pregnancy, healthy, great outcomes. And we're believing for that, hoping for that. And going into tomorrow, I'm going into tomorrow excited. I'm excited for the scans. It's going to be like a lot better resolution. So I'm excited to see the baby. The baby's more developed, obviously 3 more weeks. A lot happens in 3 weeks for a fetus. It's a fetus, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're a fetus. Love it.
16 weeks in 1 day tomorrow. So
Crazy.
Yeah, the reason why we haven't touched on it, but the reason why we have to do it 16 weeks is because the doctor also booked me in for an amniocentesis, which is where they take some amniotic fluid from the baby's sac.
Get a big needle.
Yeah, apparently it's a
put it in through your stomach,
needle.
just like straight in there. And I think they have an ultrasound in one hand, kind of like checking.
Oh, really?
One person's got an ultrasound over here, making sure the baby's like, oh, he's over here chilling, and then they try to like get in the other side to like not stab the baby with a needle. It's pretty wild. And then they extract fluid from the amniotic sac, which is the sac the baby's actually in.
And
crazy.
Yeah, apparently that test is like 99% accurate in determining whether there are any genetic abnormalities, and you can find out the gender and all these things. But the plan is tomorrow. It's very much an elective thing. They've booked me in for it, but have reassured me that it's not something we have to do tomorrow if we're not comfortable.
Because there's risk factors.
There's a risk factor of an increased miscarriage, and that's from 0.5% to 1%, which in the grand scheme of things is not high.
But it is double.
Yes, and it's
pretty wild.
True when you say it like that. So I think our stance tomorrow is like, I'm not going into tomorrow thinking I'm going to do that test, and I think we are trying to avoid it if we can.
Yeah, I think there's some other tests that we might do that are maybe less
invasive,
accurate, but not non-invasive. NIPT,
the NIPT test.
What's PT stand for?
No idea.
Non-invasive tests. So that's where they test either your blood or something like that.
Yeah, my blood.
It doesn't go near the baby.
Yeah. And I think they'll refer us to that. I spoke to the hospital and said if that was a possibility, and I think hopefully that will be.
Obviously, a needle is invasive.
Yeah, but yeah. And so I think the plan is tomorrow is to do that scan first, which is what they've scheduled me in for. See the doctor and hopefully hear great news outcomes from that scan.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, after 14 weeks, you can't see the nuchal anymore, so that will still be a factor for them from what I can glean from at this point, from a non-medical person. But I would assume that if that's on our report, then that's on our report and they can't see any different tomorrow.
Yep.
But I think hopefully other indicators tomorrow, the plan is to see those other positive indicators and then go from there. So
yep, very hopeful, very excited, and I think I'd love to do more updates just as the journey goes on, videos like this, and kind of document the journey, document the challenges and some of the things we're learning. And so yeah, thanks for watching, whoever you are. Probably just us.
It's a long journey.
Our children, as in long video.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also longevity. Yes.
Appreciate it. See you soon.
Chance out.
I'm going to cut it before that bit.